Well, I'm continuing to learn over here at Mrs. VZ's classes. Hi, this is Evelyn, and we discussed in our focus group this week about building relationships. Now, granted, this can be really challenging with an online course and an online platform where everything we have is done by email or through visual contact with our students. So I recognize that this is a challenging business strategy to try to employ, but I'm going to walk through some of the things we discussed and let you know some of the ways that I'll try to apply this to my classes. The first concept we discussed was doing something unconditional. And this is really challenging as a business model because the point is to make money doing our business, right? And so doing something unconditionally almost seems counterintuitive, right? Kind of seems backwards to what we are trying to accomplish. Second, we talked about common interests. How do we find those common interests? How can those promote our business? How can we connect in special ways to our students and our families and our customers, right? We have to think of them like that, customers. How can we figure out those common interests? Finally, we talked about adding value. How can we add value to what we've already created on Outschool? How can we add value to what our students and parents are receiving from us? So we'll look a little more deeply into that in a minute. In doing something unconditional for our students and our families, I guess we have to think of that as sort of an investment into the future, right? We're working on re-enrollments, we're working on keeping those students or providing something for them that may really benefit them in the future. And one of the things that was suggested was that one of the teachers actually stays after class if she can, for just a few minutes, just to extend that class a little longer. Of course, you shouldn't feel obligated to do this, but if you have the time in your schedule and can give that to your students, if the conversation is going along swimmingly and everyone wants to keep talking, then consider that. That's an option that might work for you. An unconditional that I have done in my classes is to provide a bonus assignment. Especially if something has happened in my schedule and I've had to cancel a class or reschedule a class, then I'll pop a bonus activity. Now, I teach language arts, so of course I'll give them a book report to do or suggest a book to read. So that's how I build that into my class as an unconditional bonus assignment for my students. Another way that I provide for my students unconditionally is by referring them to another teacher. Let's say that I notice they're really, really strong in art. Then I might give them a referral to an art teacher. Or another example would be that I see a student has a real interest in sharks. Then I could give them a referral to a class that teaches all about sharks. So by sharing those referrals, that's unconditional. I'm not getting any kickback from other teachers or anything like that, but it benefits the student and the family unconditionally. One way to recognize common interests in your students and parents is just to listen and just to read those notes. And sometimes those little comments that teachers, that parents make about their students. By reading those and listening to your students, you're going to identify some of the things that you have in common. And you can build those little things into the class. Maybe you recognize right away that your student has a real interest in books about dragons, right? And so you can maybe give them some writing prompts that would be dependent on their knowledge of dragons or something like that. So building on those common interests so that you're making a connection between the student and you. If I have a little extra time in class, I love to play some games like Would You Rather, or what are your favorite pizza toppings, or questions like that that get the students talking. And once the students begin sharing, then I can file those favorites away, right? Those things of interest to them, and embed those into our classroom discussions and conversations so that I am, again, connecting with my students. Adding value for the student and the parent, the customer, may not always return monetarily to us, but it could return to us in a new enrollment or a recommendation for our class. Just meeting the parents and families and students' needs by adding value, particularly before it's asked, is a great thing to do. And some ways in which I do this is by offering a refund in case there is something that really has come up that's a problem for that family to be able to meet the class. Or if I have to cancel a class, I'm going to offer a refund so that they are getting the benefit of the value and not myself at this point. Hopefully that will add value later. Another way in which I've added value for my students and families is by creating simple reteaching videos to reteach a concept that a student might have found difficult. So if I recognize that a student has struggled with a particular concept, then I'll create a little video and share it with the family, just so that they have a quick resource to refresh their students' memory on what the concept is that they learned in class. Additionally, I am hoping to add in a $5 tutorial class. That's a hard word to say. Tutoring class for my currently enrolled students. So this class will not be available generally, but will be just for my currently enrolled students who I might find need a little extra time with me working on a particular concept. And then at that point, I'll offer this private $5 tutoring session to meet that need for the family and the student. Okay, well, there you have it. Those are the three concepts we talked about in our building relationships conversation. And I hope that this has added value to your business model and that you're able to take these things and implement them in a way that works for you and helps you build your business. See you next time.